Today, we're talking about the due diligence process.
I'm Randall Dolland, a licensed real estate agent, and I'm here to help you navigate the world of New York City's real estate market.
So today, we're coming to you from X Gallery in Harlem, and we're meeting with Stephane Zwirn of Zwirn Law PLLC. Stephane's been a real estate transactional attorney for many years and takes great care of her clients, including mine. And today we're talking about the due diligence process. In New York City, after the agreement of the sale is finalized, the deal goes to the attorneys, and the attorneys pretty much takes it over from there. And Stephane's going to enlighten us as to that whole process. So Stephane, it's a pleasure having you on.
Thank you for having me.
Right, so the due diligence process, just sort of elaborate, because this is usually for the purchaser.
Right. Generally what happens is once the brokers and the purchaser and the seller agree on the main terms of the deal, it goes to the attorneys. So as the purchaser's attorney, I want to make sure that my client's purchasing the property or apartment in the best way that they can with the most information about it before they sign the contract.
Right.
So we have this due diligence process. And what's included in the due diligence process? There's four main parts of it. While I'm negotiating the contract with the seller's attorney, I'm doing the due diligence, and that includes, first and foremost, I review the past minutes of the board of directors meetings.
Right.
So that I could actually do that right before I get the deal sheet, because I want to make sure that not only is my client knowledgeable about the apartment before they buy it,
right.
I want to make sure that they are knowledgeable before they sign the contract. So I'm going to jump on this right away, and I'm going to make an appointment with the managing agent, and I'm going to review the past minutes of the board of directors meetings. The minutes are actually proprietary to the building, to the co-op or the condo.
Right.
So that means that I can't have them send it to me. I have to go to the managing agent's office and I have to review it there.
Right.
And what I do is I take very detailed notes on it, and I create a review of those minutes, and then I send them to my client and they can ask me any questions they have on it. What's in the minutes? Why do they need to know about it? Well, okay, the board of directors have regular meetings, and those meetings are recorded in the minutes. And what's in there is everything from are they going to be doing construction in the building? Well, that can cost money. So is there going to be an assessment? Is there going to be an increase in the common charges or the maintenance?
Always a question that buyers have.
Absolutely. Yeah, and they need to know this kind of information.
Absolutely.
And also, is there enough money in the reserve fund or the working capital fund so that the building can afford the changes that they're making? Everything from that to, is there litigation going on? Have people not paid their maintenance or their common charges? They want to know that. There's even, one thing I always say is, you want to know who's living in the building. Are there noxious odors that people have complained about? This is what I always say, is there a salsa dancer living right above you who does not have the required 80% carpeting, and she's dancing at 4 a.m. That's going to be noise. You want to know all of this stuff. So I do this review of the minutes. That's the first thing that I do. And then there's the financials. We review likely the past 2 years' financials of the building. We review in my firm, we review them with a CPA. We don't want to presume ever that we have the knowledge of a CPA. So I have the CPA do a review, and I send that to my client. And a lot of times with this due diligence comes additional questions, maybe about the reserve fund or the working capital fund, or what's going on with that woman who doesn't have the required carpeting. And so another part of the due diligence is that I prepare a questionnaire. I have 50 questions that I know I need to ask that management company, so that if it's not answered in the minutes or if it's not answered in the financials, I need that answer. And a lot of times, once we've already done the review of the minutes and the financials, I'll have additional questions. So that's a questionnaire. That's number 3. And then a big one is number 4, which is I prepare a risk assessment memo that details all of the particular risks in this particular building. And I send that to my client. And that actually is based on something called the offering plan.
Right.
And the offering plan is a book that's about this thick, sometimes 500 to 1,000 pages, and it details what happened in the building when it was being created. There's many aspects of it, but sometimes you have a building that was created, let's say in 1986, and it's 2018, so a lot of that information could be stale, but what's important also that's in there is the bylaws are in that document, And also the house rules are in that document. You have to make sure that they're updated with amendments. And
right.
also, let's say you're purchasing in a co-op, the proprietary lease is in that document. So the proprietary lease is an agreement that you have with a co-op. When you're purchasing in a co-op as opposed to buying a house or a condo, you don't get a deed.
Right.
You get a stock certificate that you own shares in a corporation. Well, you can't live in a stock certificate. So you end up having an agreement with the co-op that you can live in there pursuant to certain terms and not defaulting. And that's your proprietary lease. So the lease and the terms of the lease that's contained in the offering plan is really important. So I take all of this information that's in that offering plan and I prepare a risk assessment memo detailing the risks associated and the rules that they need to follow. And so by the time, before the client even signs the contract, they will have the minutes review, the financial review, the risk assessment memo, and the questions answered by management. And so when they sign the contract, they know what they're purchasing. They can feel safe in what they're purchasing, that it's a good building for them.
That's perfect, and a perfect review of everything, very, very thorough, I would say.
Thank you.
Because in New York City, I guess that's the difference from most other markets. In New York City, a lot of co-ops and condos, more so co-ops, which is 71%
Right.
of the market. So therefore, it's always important to have like an expert transactional attorney working on this because you understand exactly what has to go into the deal and the review of the minutes and how the co-op works. But that's very great insight about the co-ops and condos, townhouses rather.
Yes.
Like we're in Harlem, a lot of townhouses here.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a different process, but there are more different issues that would come up, I would say.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, when you're purchasing in a townhouse, there are different issues because if you think about it, you're buying a house
Right.
versus when you're buying in a condo or a co-op, you're buying in a more of a communal environment and you're subjected to different kinds of rules. So for the co-ops and condos, we have that due diligence that we just discussed. When you're purchasing in a townhouse, there's different considerations. First of all, there are no financials or minutes of the meeting or an offering plan. So what you need to have really good contact with your client and understand what they're selling and what they're buying, what the purchaser's buying. So are there tenants in this townhouse? Is the property being purchased with the tenants in it, or do we need to get the tenants out? Whose responsibility is that? There's a lot of things that need to be spelled out prior to signing the contract when you're buying the townhouse. So first thing, are there tenants in there? And is it the purchaser's responsibility? Are they buying it with the tenants in it? Or is it the seller's responsibility to get the tenants out? That's a really big part. And also another thing that goes into purchasing in a townhouse a lot is who's taking responsibility for the violations. If you're buying a townhouse, there could be Department of Building issues, there could be Environmental Control Board violations, there could be liens on the townhouse, let's say money's owed, outside of maybe a mortgage. And we want to make sure who has responsibility for that. You need to go to the DHCR, you need to go to the Department of Buildings, you want to make sure that the certificate of occupancy is in the form that it should be. There's been buildings that I've worked on where the certificate, where the building has been designated as, let's say, for 4 families, a 4-family unit, but actually it had been purchased years ago and converted into a 1-family,
Right.
but the documents were never properly registered. So you need to make sure that everything is registered properly, and that's really what the due diligence is about in a townhouse, is making sure that what you're purchasing is what you think you're purchasing, and it's all spelled out before. Then we'll draft the contract and include those terms to protect the seller or the purchaser.
Right. Perfect. I think that was definitely a great overview of what the due diligence process is. And again, if you need more questions, if you have questions or need more information about, the due diligence process, or just want to get information about working with an expert in the real estate field, please, reach out to Stephanie or myself as an agent if you need information on the agent side, and we're always here to help.
Yes.
Thank you, Stephanie.
My pleasure.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for viewing. Visit my website for more information or subscribe to my YouTube channel.